Welcome to the Frog Racing Shop. Today we are installing this Cobb AOS. So here, first thing to do, remove the top mount intercooler, and then you have here this piece that goes down to the block, then goes this way, and then to the intake hose. You have to disconnect this, and pull the hose all the way from the bottom from the block. So once everything is disconnected, you can just pull the whole assembly out. So to save time, remove the throttle body for 10mm bolts so that you can get it out of the way, because this hose needs to be removed and you will have to reconnect the new hose from the AOS to under here, under the throttle body. So with the throttle body in place, it's too much of a pain. So just remove it, move it on the side, and get to that hose, remove this hose. So this is a piece that we removed. This is the new piece provided by Cobb. They give you the T here, give you a hose. You put the hose in the T, use a clamp, just use a pair of pliers to clamp it in place. And this is now gonna come down here where the previous hose was. So I'm just gonna prepare the clamp around, put it down there and secure it in place. Here you are, the fitting in place clamp. I reused my old clamp at the bottom, that was easier to put in. Now we are gonna put the AOS in place. Before putting the bottom in place, attach the half-inch hose and directly here put the clamp on. It's gonna be much easier than when it's buried down there. So you can start sliding the heat shield sleeve around it so that you'll have everything in place once the bottle is in. So here we install the bracket, one from the bottom. We have our half-inch hose with the shield going behind the wideband here already in place, and we are gonna slide the bottle down here to put it in place, and attach the two bolts. So there is the one that was at the bottom of the bracket for the brake line, and the other one is going to be these guys that you see here. That's going to connect here. Here you can see the half-inch hose routed all the way to the T-fitting down there. I decided to not cut any of it, so it has a little bit that curved shape, but it actually pushes the hose as much as possible to the firewall and away from the dust shield. So I like to have that little pressure on the hose. And so next step is going to be to put the 3/8 hose from here to the top. So this guy, and it's easy to recognize because this is the only one that has that is in two sections. And so this guy is going to come here. So here we have the hose in place. I put the heat shield on this side so that it would protect also the other hose, and it goes under the half-inch hose, and so all the way to the top of the bottle. We are gonna put the throttle body back in place because now we are done with this, and we'll just have to go from here to with the 5/8 hose over there. Here I put the 5/8 hose with the you have the clamp at the bottom, the heat shielding. It's gonna go over the turbo like this, and probably it's gonna connect to the bottom of the bottle. I'm gonna wait until my intercooler is back in place to make sure of the exact routing and cut the hose to length. In the meantime, I'm starting to put the next hose, which is Pcv hose on the driver side. So here that's the hose that originally went to the intercooler here, and it is the first one of those two hoses here on the block. I recommend to pop the 210mm to remove your windshield washer. bottle so that you can get easy access here. And we're gonna connect this to the next spot on the bottle in the middle. Okay, so here I put the new hose in, routing here away from the heat sources. So I went behind the clutch master there. I'm gonna run it along the firewall and go over there. So on the passenger side, I remove my airbox shield to have more access. We're gonna remove this guy here that was going here to the intercooler as well. And we're gonna put another hose that's gonna go at the top of the bottle. Okay, so I have the intercooler back in place. So I have the hose coming from the driver's side routed just here at the edge of the intercooler. Light is not very good. There we go. So I have my hose coming from the driver's side here, routed just between the intercooler and the brake master. Routed behind against the firewall under there, and now coming back here, it's coming here in the middle. The hose at the top is the one coming from the passenger side, and I routed it directly on the outside of the coolant expansion tank, outside of the intercooler, and at the top. The one here at the bottom is the one coming at the top of the T. It's just routed out above the turbo. The one at the very bottom here is the one coming on that side of the T. So this guy going over there. And the one at the very top is the one going under to the throttle body, under the throttle body there, the connector. So now what's left are those two coolant hoses that are gonna come here and here. And we have to connect those two connectors here to our inlet hose. So the problem is that in the kit I didn't have any 5/8 hose that came with it. But what I was able to do is this hose that goes from here to where the blow-off valve sensor was over there. I'm gonna try to get a better. So here we disconnected that fitting from the inlet hose that was originally going to the T here. And so now we have to connect this guy from the inlet hose to this port here. So one thing I was able to do is the hose we pulled that was going from the intercooler to the block on this side, you can actually make it fit. Its curvy shape will fit here to go at the top. And the other one we have to do is this other hose that came from the front of the inlet hose and that was going to our intercooler before. This one has to be connected over here, and there's no 5/8 piping in the kit. So one thing you can do is the hose that was going from the PCV on that side to the intercooler, you can also reuse this guy. Actually, it's the one over here. So this guy who was down here like this, over here and coming here. What I'm going to do is that in the kit you have a extension fitting, like a joint fitting. So I'm going to put that here, and from here I'm going to be able to go like here with the previous hose, and here I'm just going to cut it probably somewhere here to be able to connect to the to this hose, and I'll be able to just reuse the hoses I removed to make the connection. So here I just got the last elbow from my PCV hose that was on the passenger side, and then connect it with the junction fitting to the hose that was originally coming out of my intake. And actually the little elbows are coming nicely around the other hoses. So now I'm going to have to disconnect this hose and connect those two coolant hoses on either side. Okay, so this is how much I cut from the first hose. I left enough length so that it would bend nicely and stay away from the heat source. You can see it kind of, the bend kind of pushes the hose this way so that it doesn't get too close to the heat shield over there. And so for the other one, I don't think I'm going to cut it at all. I'm just going to route it like this and probably just leave it the same way away from the heat source. And so go down there. So here I put a paper towel at the bottom. When I'm going to remove this hose, I'm going to have some coolant leaking. So I'm going to try to do this as quick as possible. I'm going to put the clamp ahead of time here, so that I just have to slide it in, and then I'll just have to slide the clamp. We have a completed install here. So the upper coolant hose, lower hose, put it here. And here are vacuum lines here to the left, and the other one from the back of the inlet hose to the right. This is going to under the throttle body. Here, passenger side PCV. The middle one goes on the other side, back behind the intercooler, driver side PCV. This guy, the bottom one, comes here to the top, and the Y, the other one that is on the Y fitting going this way, goes around and at the very bottom, the heat shield one there at the bottom of the box, and that's it. So it's definitely a tight fit. If you reuse, like I did, the Pcv hose from both sides to feed this and this guy here to the box, what you are going to be left with is the original T that you remove from the block with the two lines attached to it. That's the coolant hose that goes from the upper reservoir to the turbo, and a bunch of clamps. You won't need the hard lines at the front of the intercooler here, so that you can remove, because now everything is plumbed behind. There is the extra amount of hose. I got quite a bit of a ½ inch. That's a chunk of 5/8 I cut, and that's about it. If you had, so mine was already removed. I didn't have the blower valve sensor here. You can see I had a regular hose. If you had this, you can take the white side of the connector and pipe it into a 5/8 hose to if you want to keep the functionality and come from here through your blow-off sensor. That's it. I'm just going to put my airbox back in, and then the next step is going to be to bleed the coolant. And so there is a tiny bleed screw at the top here, but for me it's going to be not going to be very accessible unless I remove my bar. So I'm going to see if I can bleed everything directly from here. So here I'm using a coolant bleeding kit. So it just stick on the upper reservoir. It will bleed the air out when it gets to temp. And I checked my connector. I had a small leak originally here. I moved the clamp, it's not leaking anymore. And the upper one doesn't seem to be leaking. So we should be fine. And once the bleeding is completed, we'll be good to go.